to the Most Excellent 80s Movies podcast. It's the podcast where a filmmaker and two comedians adventure through the 80s movies we love and love to hate. And this one has it all. Creepy dolls, creepy kids, creepy cops, and more voodoo than you can shake a stick at. This is episode 32, Child's Play, a movie selection from 1988.
Everyone has a birthday they'll always remember.
Can we open my presents now, Mommy? A good guy! I knew it! I'm Chucky.
He's something, isn't he?
This is Andy's.
Time for bed, Andy. Good night, baby.
Good night, Aunt Maggie. Good night, Chucky.
Everyone knows most accidents happen at home.
How did that happen?
This is no accident.
Andy!
I'm Detective Mike Norris, homicide.
Andy!
Miss Peterson's dead, Miss Barkley. She fell from the kitchen window.
Someone's moved in with the Barkley family, and so has terror.
Mommy, I know who was on the counter. Andy!
Who, Andy?
Chucky.
Nobody believes you about Chucky. He came alive in my hand.
Oh, for God's sake.
Why won't you believe me?
Because I'm sane, Mrs. Barkley. Sane and rational.
No one believes the truth. Or lives to tell it. There's nothing nice about murder. And there's nothing innocent about child's play.
There's nothing nice about murder.
It is such a terrible trailer.
Do you ever find, though, that, like, I don't care what trailer it is anymore that I watch from anything that's older than, like, 5 years ago feels so dated. Even if it's, like, a movie I saw 5 years ago. Like, I remember seeing the Star Wars Episode 1 trailer recently. I 100% remember going, oh, my God. And, like, almost dying. Right?
Uh-huh.
So it just doesn't, the trailers never hold up because they're so, like, based on what's happening.
Positioning in that sort of marketing style.
Right.
Everyone, there, it's so much about the perception of this is a big movie, just like that other thing. So it's going to have some similarity to it. You know, there's that lost artwork of like movie posters and things like that.
Well, and as we've discussed, like when they screw it up, you lose the movie. Like Princess Bride wasn't successful because they didn't know how to market it, and the trailer
that was
is
the worst
garbage.
trailer. Yeah,
and the poster's dumb too. Like the poster that they ended up using for the theatrical release was not a good poster. It was the one where Kevin Arnold and Columbo you see them in the bed.
it should not be on a poster.
And then like he has the book open, and then out of the book is sort of spraying the image of Wesley and Buttercup and stuff, and so it looks dumb.
Right.
It looks like a movie for babies.
Yes.
And nobody likes
This movie is for babies.
This movie's for babies, Chrissy.
Okay, so that voice is Dorian Lenz. He's back again.
I'm back.
He's the other director of National Comedy Theater.
Hello.
I'm Chrissy Lenz.
We are married.
Not brother and sister.
That's correct.
And with us, as always, is Mr. Nathan
The
Blackwell.
third member of the trio.
We are brother and sister.
We
No,
do
I'm
have
kidding.
big love. Nathan Blackwell, filmmaker, Squishy Studios. Thank you for coming. Let's just endure. Child's Play, 1988.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So,
All right.
so this was my pick.
Interesting.
I watched this movie so many times when I was a kid. Just anytime my mom would go out of town, I would rent all of them. Well, the first 3, which were what basically existed when I was a kid.
I have some follow-up questions when we're done at the end of this.
He has some concerns as your spouse. Now that this has come up.
I loved this movie, and I love this sort of genre of 80s horror, where it's basically silly. So we did Nightmare on Elm Street way back in the day. I think that was like episode 3.
Right, my first horror film.
Yes. And these are really the only 2 horror movies we've done, but like Nightmare on Elm Street, the Child's Play movies, Friday the 13th, that very niche 80s horror, I love.
The era of the slasher.
Yeah.
Kind of brought about by Halloween.
Yes,
for sure. And you could tell, like, right
John
as soon as the
Carpenter.
credits, I remember as soon as the credits start rolling at the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, okay. We've got that like 80s techno,
bum, 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 which is also
synth music.
Also sort of inspired by the whole John Carpenter vibe.
Yes.
But you claimed to have not seen this, Dorian,
Yeah.
and it was a bald-faced lie.
It was a lie that my brain told me because
To protect it from trauma.
as soon as the credits started rolling and I heard the music and I saw the intro scene, I was like, I have seen this. I do remember seeing this. And it all started flooding back. I used to work at Blockbuster Video in the
90s?
early, mid-90s, 95, 96, 97, somewhere in there. And I do remember...
What was coming out? What were the new releases?
Oh, God. Independence Day.
So that would have been
That's earlier.
95.
Was it?
Coming out on video,
96.
so it came out 4th of July, 94.
I think you're a year or two off. I want to say 96 is my guess. I might be wrong. But there were so many things going on. But, you work at Blockbuster. You're
Right, it's 1996.
Ah.
Look, this isn't a 90s movie.
You're not allowed to rent the new releases right away.
Right.
So I did go through a phase where I watched,
Chucky?
all the back catalog films, and again, I don't remember Chucky until I saw it today, and I was like, oh, yeah, this.
But Nathan, this was your first experience with...
It's so wonderful to have a podcast like this that can force these movies on you. That's true. It was my first.
Initial thoughts right out the gate. Love it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What's not
I would
to
say
love?
it was a bit better than I expected.
Oh, well, that's good.
That's a loaded statement. So my hot take.
Okay, hot take.
Hot take.
Hot
Yes.
takes. We don't do hot takes. That's not a segment.
It is now.
I feel like all the first movies in the series are pretty decent.
Yes.
Nightmare on Elm Street, definitely. Friday the 13th. A little foggy on that one. Obviously
great.
Halloween
And Kevin
is
Bacon's
great.
in it.
And then Child's Play, like, genuinely, there's moments where it's like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh,
It's a good idea,
This
yeah.
suspense is totally working. But, it definitely gets cheeseball.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the original concept of the movie, first of all, I think it's a great premise. I think it is such a good premise that a
and- 'cause
dying
'cause I
serial killer voodoos his body into a child-sized doll. That's a good idea.
Yeah, especially when it's Brad Dourif.
Yes, who always scared me because this was the first thing I had ever seen him in, and so every time I see him, I'm like, Chucky.
No, yeah, I saw him in like the respectable stuff, and then finding out that he was Chucky was hilarious.
Yes.
I thought it was convenient that he was like a voodoo wizard. And you're like came out of nowhere,
Yeah, the great thing is that it takes like 50 minutes to explain how that happened,
How he became a voodoo.
which is amazing. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
But he is a serial murderer, so why wouldn't he dabble in voodoo?
I don't know. I guess all the serial murders I know of
Are very spiritual.
Yeah, very spiritual, I guess. They all dabble in a little bit of voodoo magic, for
As
insurance.
Yeah. Well, if you're into being a strangler,
Yeah.
you have your hobbies and interests veer towards the macabre.
So the beginning scene is
So wait, so I wanted to
Oh,
tell
yeah.
you, the original concept for the movie was it was different. So like when they were first developing it, they really wanted to do like a satire on like the branding of things being marketed to kids.
See, yeah.
And that comes through in that first part.
And that's what I totally remember as a kid. And they do a good job of I mean, maybe they hit you a little too hard at the beginning, but yeah, as a kid, it just seemed like the normal way of operation that something you were into had to have a cartoon and a cereal and the toys on TV and
sometimes it didn't even matter what order those things came in.
No,
it could have been like, we want to sell this toy, make a cartoon about it.
Yeah, I've been
Isn't that basically what He-Man and She-Ra are?
100%.
Yeah, and I've been going down like a YouTube hole about like these sort of old properties from the 80s. Yeah, do you ever remember Marshall Bravestar?
Yes.
No.
I do remember Marshall Bravestar.
Which is that was a weird one. It was all kind of created through like marketing and testing, and the toys came out like a year or 9 months before the cartoon came out. It was a total disaster. But it was like a cowboy sci-fi thing in space.
Wait a minute, hold on. Was Bravestar the one where the guy had the guitar and he would like and then shoot fireworks out of it?
I don't even know.
That might not have been Bravestar, but I do remember Bravestar.
But that was basically something that was invented to sell products. So, like the way back in the very beginning, this was meant to be a satire of like, look, you guys, this is what can happen when we go overboard.
Yeah.
They come to life and kill you.
And it was all unleashed with like Reagan allowing that commercials could be a half hour long.
Yep.
And so.
Yep.
And then they also had like early versions of the script for this where the idea was less that this was a murdered doll and more that the kid was Banana Pants.
Right, controlling it with like rage magic or something.
Well, and that he was committing murders and was just so disassociated and broken from reality that he was imagining the doll doing it, but it was in fact his broken psyche.
That would have been a very different movie.
Yeah.
Much less marketable movie.
Right. Then it, like as they went, they were just like, you know what? Let's put all our eggs in Murder Doll basket and just run with that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that this being the first one in what became a ridiculous series, I think it has some quality scares and some like genuinely good ideas.
I also noted just overall, I really like some of the editing. I know that might be a cheesy thing to say, but I really like some of the editing.
Yeah, keep your opinions about editing off our movie podcast.
Because like the cuts between like the doll and what I assume was a little person in a costume were amazing.
Oh yeah.
And then there were also like just the animatronics of Chucky's face.
Especially at the end where he's basically doing the end of Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah, you always need that like final stage villain. Like you feel like you've gotten a success on, or that it's just almost defeated, and so it's at that like final stage of like that carnage of like, you know.
And he looks so creepy.
Yeah, that worked really well.
But I do think the catchphrase for this movie should be child's play. Watch out for your ankles.
I agree.
All right, go ahead, Nathan.
Okay. So we start off with the kind of positioning that Chucky, the doll, is what is he called?
A good guy.
A good guy.
The good guy doll.
And that not only everyone, it's like this is the Cabbage Patch of this movie universe. Everyone's
the my buddy sort
everyone's into it. Yeah, exactly. My buddy, me, my buddy,
my buddy,
kid sister, kid sister.
See how well the marketing worked in the 80s,
brainwashing.
you guys?
Oh, you guys, kid sister.
Oh, jeez.
This is why we're horrible.
This doll is so well branded. It has branded batteries.
Yes.
They're good guy doll.
Also,
branded batteries.
Just to point out, just the mom bought accessories to a doll without buying the doll. Did anybody notate that at all?
No, those were clothes for the child.
And also, he was wearing a Chucky outfit at the beginning of the movie.
He was PJs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's already nuts about this thing. He's wearing his own PJ costume. He's pouring out the disgusting cereal as he's watching it and getting upset with it. I've already seen this episode.
Well, that was very upsetting when you had no other. It wasn't like you could just skip to the next episode. You had to go a whole another week.
So the Humperdinck tracks down his prey, who's Brad Dourif, and then shoots him and kills him. And then he voodoos himself into a doll.
Was Humperdinck.
Yeah.
Chris Sarandon.
I was thinking about that whole time. Like, how do I know that
voice
guy?
of Jack Skellington.
All right. Well, there was a funny moment in that chase scene. So, like, the Stranglers, Chucky,
Charles Lee Ray
is running to his buddy's van.
And Brad Dourif is always intense. He is
Right.
never not intense.
But
I wonder what it's like for his family. Like, morning, Dad. Good morning, children.
There's a moment when Humperdinck goes down, and then he shoots Chucky in the leg, right? Mm-hmm. And like that's when
Are you talking about when he kills Charles Lee Ray?
at the beginning. This is
Okay.
the chase.
His friends call him Chucky.
Right. I just was trying to figure out if you're talking about the human being or the doll.
No. At the beginning, he's still a human. He's still Charles Lee Ray. I'll call it Charles Lee Ray when he's in human form.
Or Brad Dourif, either way.
And his buddy takes off, and there's another cop car coming. You see this part? And he hobbles in front of the cop car, so you can see him and the cop car in the shot. And the cop car is coming right at him, and then he hides behind a wall or like a post, and the cop car just goes off. I'm just like, did he not see it? It's right there.
That's how Stranglers got away in the 80s.
Shoddy police work.
It was a scary time to be alive.
Yeah.
Glad we survived. So the kid is waking up his mom. We learn that he's nuts about this thing. She works at the makeup counter at
A really mean department store.
mean department store. I was going to say convenience store. And then, all right, so fast track.
So she can afford the good guy doll. They've just been released on the market or whatever, and she can't afford what's probably like a super expensive doll. It is the size of a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So that thing's like 3.5 feet
Well,
tall.
and it's animated. It has animatronics in it, and
Yeah.
it talks, and its eyes move, and its head moves. Yeah, that would have been like
it's like
the
a
Cadillac.
terrifying
Yeah.
Teddy Ruxpin. So she buys it in a back alley
For $100.
from just a street person who was like, who just like
A
found
street
it.
person American.
Wait a minute. Are we going to skip over the whole voodoo part where he like voodoos himself into the doll?
Well, we already said that.
It's so great.
So I checked in today's money. $100 is $214.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
back in the 80s?
I mean, that is an expensive toy.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
a really expensive toy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like just the moment where they're sort of bartering with him, and she's like the sassy '80s best friend, who always just an asshole to everybody. Like she's sassing the boss, and she's
Right.
like, she wears a little hat, and she's like, "Don't tell us what to do, boss man," or whatever. She's haggling with the street person American, and
Right.
she's like, "I'll give you $10 for it," and he's like, $100, and she's like, $50, and I just wanted someone to be like, okay, but how possessed is it?
Scale of 1 to 10?
Scale of 1 to 10.
You want it or not, lady?
Also,
I do.
where she's like, I bet this thing is stolen. And his response was, steal this, lady. And I was like, was that like the 80s stereotypical like insult back at someone where you were like, hey, you're a jerk this or whatever?
Yeah.
Like that was
think
just
so.
The one
you
you
would
said
blank
actually
this,
works better than
I think
the
between
one.
84 and 88. So it was just kind of coming out of
blank
fashion.
this.
Mm-hmm.
This is just whatever. Hey, would you grab the door this? That wouldn't work.
It would be like, grab this.
Did John Travolta start that? I feel like he did.
Probably we owe him so much of our culture. So yes, and then she gives her very weird child this very weird doll.
Right.
And it's like, but there is a really nice moment where he's opening his gifts and he's so excited and it's pants. And the mom's like, do you like them, sweetie? It's no, he doesn't fucking like them. They're pants.
Right.
And he's 6.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Get out of here, lady.
And the mom's doing a good job. That's Catherine Hicks from Star Trek 4? Star Trek 4, The Quest for Whales.
Yes.
She
Oh my God! Yeah, that's that's
She
the
just
girl
always
that Kirk falls in love with,
she
right?
just she always seems like she's there. She's always so real. I think she's doing a great job.
She's doing her best.
I do appreciate you looking all these people up because I'm just going like, where do I know that person from?
Thoughts on the kid? I thought he did. He had some pretty great moments.
Yeah, I thought he was sufficiently creepy, and
Later on in the movie, I wrote down one of his like moments where I was like, oh, he's really acting right this moment. And
It was like when he was like put in.
yes, when in the cell.
Yeah.
And I was like, that scene that you're talking about when he's in the thing, he turns his face around and like he's literally crying, and I'm just like, oh, I felt it, you know?
Yeah, me too.
but
All right, kid, you get a 7.
But I could see him like doing a good job of playing it as if they had gone the other way and made it seem like, is the kid doing it? Is the kid doing it?
Yeah, because he was
like
pretty
they were kinda...
intense, and
Yeah.
you know, whether it was a choice or not, there was kind of like a level of like rage or temper in him, especially like in the beginning.
So then but when the kid is being super creepy, especially when like he would put his ear to the doll and be like, Chucky says, you know,
Oh yeah, like the first.
Chucky
they do
says
a
she's
good.
a real bitch and she got what was coming to her, and you're just like, whoa,
whoa.
whoa.
That got dark, kid. Yeah, no, they do a really good job at the beginning of kind of tacking that line of like only, you know, of Chucky not going fully unleashed and kind of like
Right.
Yeah, you don't really see him move or talk like on his own until
the mom, right?
well, I think that's the first time you like fully see him, because he kills several people before that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. But you don't...
the sassy friend.
His ex-partner. So 2 people. There aren't a lot of deaths in this movie. And there's really actually not a lot of blood. Which I think is why I was allowed to watch it as a child.
There's a lot of like... There's a lot of calf stabbing and biting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ankles.
Yeah. A lot of ankle trauma. But the first death, like, he just scares her out the window, right? Or no, he hits her with a
Hits
hammer.
her with a hammer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he tomahawks a hammer right into her
And she
forehead.
goes bursting out of the window.
I always did... I was watching that going like, what? Did he throw it at her? Or did he like jump up and hit her with it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I always thought he just like
what's the
tapped her on the ankle, and she just like saw him and got scared. And
I wrote down, I have a question about physics of this film.
how does doll biology work?
It's another thing. It's
Where is the doll's heart?
how did he bite her?
Well, so Chucky slowly becomes more human
More
as
real?
he stays in the doll. So
Right.
like his teeth become real teeth, and
So the teeth grow in before the heart?
oh yeah, just like with babies.
For psycho babies.
But you just like hear his little like poop, 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 poop.
Yep.
You know, like you hear his little feet, and you just see him scampering. Mm-hmm. But you never really get a full like look at him being like, "Hi, I'm Chucky. This is how I walk. This is how I knife."
Right. Yeah.
Until later.
And then he also like wastes no time killing. He's like right to the action. This is night 1. Isn't it night 1?
It is, yeah.
It's literally night 1 because mom was like, "Here, I got you this present. I've got to go to my job."
Yeah.
And her friend is there, and she's like dead and out the window.
Yeah. But also, like, so when the mom, this is what happens right after anyway, so we're not
Right.
like super going out of order. But when Chris Sarandon shows up and is like, the mom gets home and he's like, yeah, your friend's dead. She went out the window. We're talking to the kid.
Just like Humperdinck.
Which, by the way, like even in the 80s, I don't think you could like police interview a 6-year-old without their mom. And the mom's just like, whatever, get out of here. And he's like, all right. Like, I don't think you can just tell a homicide detective to get on out.
Get out of the crime scene.
Because the kid says, I think the kid says in that moment, like, Chucky said she was a bitch and got what was coming to her. And
Right.
the cop's like, whoa, what?
Well, let's
And
be honest.
he's looking at his little PJ panty bottoms, not panty bottoms, pant bottoms, no panties. The bottom of his PJ pants, because there are little footprints.
Right.
in the like flower or whatever.
Yeah, their home is a crime scene,
Yeah.
and they go right back into it.
They just sleep there that
They
night.
just brush the glass away.
They didn't even board up the window.
I would like to point out, though...
And she even says to the kid, "Do you want to sleep in my bed tonight?" And the kid's like, "No, I've got Chucky." It's
good.
like, whoa, what?
The rules in this universe are set up very, very clearly at the beginning of this movie that they are loosey-goosey with crime scenes. I mean...
They really are.
That Chucky was part of a crime scene. He had Charles Lee Ray...
Charles Lee Ray.
His blood and prints all over him.
That's what I would have loved is
at
when
the crime scene.
When she brought the box home, that she looks in the back and there's all these red handprints all over. Ooh. Well, now the kid's seen it. I can't go back.
It's covered in like fingerprint dust. Yeah, that was a real missed opportunity there for sure.
So, I mean, they told us up front that this universe's police department and investigative services are much looser than they are in the real world.
Well, they didn't see him when he was hiding
They
behind a
established
pole.
the rules of the world.
Right.
Yeah, that they're no damn good. Prince Humperdinck is not a good detective.
And what is up with his partner?
Who's the biggest douchebag ever?
And continues to be a douchebag the entire
Throughout the
time.
entire
Come
time.
on.
Hey,
Hey,
walk in
yo.
here.
This kid's crazy. He probably killed that lady. Oh, well, we got to go home. Mom said we got to go. And they just leave. Like,
Yeah,
there's no follow-up.
I didn't know he was a cop when she bumps into him, like when she's going up to her house to her apartment to see the crime scene or whatever. I just thought he was like the sleazy neighbor.
Yeah, and he's the worst cop ever.
Yes. Yeah.
But
I hope
so
he can take criticism.
they sleep. So they just sleep in their house where their friend died. That now has no glass in the window.
Less than 24 hours ago.
Less than 20 minutes. Like the ambulance is still out there.
I wish it would go away so I could sleep.
And then what happens is that she takes him to school, and she asks him about Chucky, right? Right? Because she's dropping him off at school, and she's like, "And Chucky's just a doll, right? Right?" But he takes the doll with him to school. Did anyone else think that was weird?
Oh, I would have 100% taken that doll to school.
A doll that was the size of you?
Heck yes. My greatest Christmas present of all time was, Nathan, you might remember this. Do you remember when the Voltron characters came out?
Oh, yeah.
I received for my Christmas present, not the tiny metal one, the giant plastic one with the characters that you could put inside of it.
Yeah.
I took that to school.
How many people did it murder?
2. That was my brother's fault. I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I would have, if I was that into that doll, 100% would have taken it to school.
Teachers don't like that.
Not anymore, but in the 80s, as we have all figured out, everything was loosey-goosey.
Yeah. Well, because the kid just sneaks right out the door. As soon as the mom drives away, the kid, completely unchecked, walks right out of the school.
No, there were people watching. You could see them in the reflection. They looked a lot like a film crew.
Did we get some crew shots in there?
Uh-huh. Some people who looked like they were really fucking cold.
One of them had a boom mic. How lucky. And he, like, rides 2 subways to
It was
go
a film school.
to the sleaze capital of town to kill the guy. Mm-hmm. And they...
It looks like where all the Death Wish movies take place.
Yes. When they blow up a building. Basically, Chucky blows up a building. And then the cops are like, I don't know about this. We got this kid at a second crime scene. I want to know why they thought the kid was, like, out to get revenge for Charles Lee Ray.
I mean, statistically speaking, when you see a child at 2 different crime scenes, you should investigate it.
No, you should, but I wonder why they thought the kid had a grudge against Charles Lee Ray's escaped partner in crime.
Right. Yeah.
And were they there because of the kid, or is that they've just got this huge expanse of, like, their beat?
Their beat
Their
is
beat
gigantic.
is everywhere.
Those are the only 2 cops in Chicago. In this universe.
Well, and, like, they completely blew up a building. Like, there shouldn't be any evidence.
Right.
But there was a part where, so they get to the building where Chucky wants to kill his ex-partner, and the kid
right,
puts
and he-
Chucky down in a rocking chair and says, "Stay here, Chucky. I need to tinkle," and like goes off behind some like cardboard shanties. And I'm like, no, stay with Chucky. You're safer. You gotta stay with an adult or an adult whose soul is trapped in a doll. Like, don't go off by yourself. Oh my God.
At least it's an adult.
At least it's an adult, and it's an adult with a vested interest in keeping that kid alive. You know.
Is he vested at that point? Does he know yet? He doesn't know, right?
Who else is going to carry him around?
Well, we later find out that he can fucking walk.
No, I know, but he can't take 2 subways. He's a doll.
He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a job.
He's a doll, Dorian.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. If I am a public transit worker and a doll gets on the subway and says, "I would like to ride the subway," I would let it.
Fair enough.
I would let it.
And then the psychiatrists.
Well, first the
Get
mom. This is when the mom finds out.
The psychiatrists
The
take
batteries.
him.
Oh, the psychiatrists just take him.
No, they take him to the doctor, right? He's in an interrogation room. Once again, the mom is late to the party. The cops have him in an interrogation room, and they are interrogating him.
They've been interrogating him for hours.
Hours, just sweating him. He's under a light, and they're asking him about Chucky, right? And he's sort of telling them about Chucky, kind of. And then the mom gets there.
I swear I saw the movie.
So the mom gets there and she's like, "What are you doing? You can't talk to my son," which, like, technically, yes, they should not be talking to the son. And there's a doctor behind a 2-way mirror who's like, "I think I've seen enough. We're going to have to take this kid. This kid is clearly lost his
I want
marbles."
this kid.
So they take him to the mental hospital. Then she takes the doll home, which no, throw that in the garbage.
Right. Right. Oh, that's right.
Straight
That's
in
right.
the
He's
garbage.
hospital. Okay.
She takes it home and she
Yeah.
starts trying to talk to it. Right? At first she's like, "Say something, you little doll," and nothing happens. And then she finds the batteries and opens the battery port.
Don't you think though that if you found out that your son was a murder monster, that before you exhausted all options, that you would blame the doll?
Oh, I would immediately. Thanks to me watching this movie as a kid, I now know that when some fishy stuff starts going down, you immediately look at all the human-sized toys that you've recently brought into your house, and you ask yourself the question, do I think that this doll contains the soul of a serial killer?
Or anyone, actually.
Or
To be fair, right?
or anyone.
Even if you're just a regular guy.
No,
guy
Rocket,
who worked
Rocket has some
in
G.I. Joes
sanitation.
that contain the souls of several very nice old ladies who are just like, they just play mahjong all day. It's fine.
Like Indian in the cupboard,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, no, I would immediately be suspicious if any of my children came to me and they were like, this doll said some really creepy adult stuff that I shouldn't. It wants to watch the 9 o'clock news. I'm like, no, we're burning it. We're
No.
burning it
Right.
now. No questions. No, nothing.
You see, movies are tools for life.
That's true.
This was one of my favorite moments is when she's like holding the doll up, and he's like, and he comes to life, and he's like, "Fuck you, you bitch," or whatever. Because from at that point, the doll had been just kind of like doll-like, and then all of a sudden, the face,
Oh yeah, contorts.
the face contorts,
and it goes full evil.
It goes full evil, and it's such an awesome moment, such a great moment.
Yeah,
in
and
the
then
movie.
before that, we've got that great moment that she realizes that the batteries have never been put into the doll.
yeah.
And he whips his head around and goes, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?"
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and
he
even
drops
before
under
that,
the couch.
it's probably like the best sequence in the movie.
I think so.
And then even before that, it seems like it comes to life and rolls under the couch.
Yeah.
And then they're really drawing out the suspense of her looking underneath, her eyes going right to the floor, and then Chucky's there, reaching out to it,
Hitting it.
hitting it, then touching it, grabbing it. Everything's okay.
Did I really just see that? What was it?
Yeah.
And then she threatens to throw him into the furnace they have. Mm-hmm. They have like a little gas fireplace that just immediately is a wall of flame.
It's the 80s, man.
Nothing was safe. Toys are possessed. In apartment fire things are infernos.
We're lucky we made it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why it's important to have politicians that vote for the EPA.
Okay, and then so then she's like, "Oh shit!" Like Chucky bites her and like goes crazy, and then Chucky's just like, "Fuck this!"
But
I'm
again,
getting out of here, and he just like decides to leave.
Again, rubber teeth.
No. At that point, he's becoming real.
Right.
They're not rubber teeth. Don't you, like if you look and they look real. They look like real child teeth, and they're creepy.
I have some questions then at the end.
Well, it's actually the effect is actually really good because
No, it's great.
Chucky becomes more like his eyes get wetter. They start having like veins in them.
Oh.
His teeth look like real teeth. He's becoming less like a doll and more like human.
I you know what? I don't know that
I've seen this a lot.
I was watching it. I was watching it on my phone.
Yeah.
So I may not have noticed all those little intricacies.
The
But
nuances.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Because I really think they're trying hard to make a scary movie at this point, and I think it is a little scary. It was
There's
scary
a
to
point
me.
at which it becomes not a scary movie.
I don't think so.
But yeah, you totally, you know, whether or not you fault it for the squishy logic or the padding and some of the characters, like they do a great job of Chucky, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's some great scenes that you're squeamish. Like
for sure. Anytime somebody's gonna like going for an ankle stab, I'm just like, oh no.
I thought it was really good. So the part where he starts attacking Chris Sarandon, so he's just like,
oh yeah,
he
In
goes
the
out
car.
on the town.
Right.
The mom runs around. She finds Chris Sarandon. She's like, oh no. Here's the thing. It is the doll. The doll is alive, and it bit me, and so we need to handle this. And Chris Sarandon is like, no, you're crazy. But you go ahead and get out of here. Like no follow up questions, nothing. Bye bye. And then she's like, well, fine. If you're not going to solve it, I'm going to solve it. And off she goes.
Right.
And by the way, she does some solid detective work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she ends up finding Charles Lee Ray's apartment.
Right.
Which is covered in mural. Creepy voodoo mural.
Dark magic stuff.
Yeah. And it's like,
Dark magic.
you know, like people always say, like, that's why you always leave a note. But also, leave a mural. Like, if you're going to... You should leave a mural if you're going to live a life of crime. She finds the voodoo... No. The doll attacks Chucky. No, Chucky is the doll. That he attacks Humperdinck in the car, and it's like stabbing a knife up through his seat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and he's driving and he can't get out, and he's squiggling around, and he's like, no, what?
And the doll has a big ass butcher knife, and it's like trying to stab him through the seat.
Yeah.
That's a good sequence too,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and you
Yeah.
get those like very like impactful like knife coming up between the legs, you know, moments. Yeah, it was great.
And he like doesn't pull over or stop. He just like damages a lot of property.
Chicago, you have to keep driving. You're not allowed to stop your car.
But there's a really good part where his car
traffic's bad.
flips and he's sort of trapped in the car, and Chucky like sort of like you see his like little doll feet and his cute little doll sneakers
Yes.
come up, and he like swears at the guy, right? And stabs his knife into the car and runs away.
Yeah.
And then Humperdinck's like, "Oh, it is the doll."
I've seen enough.
Turns out, he goes and finds the mom. They decide to be
There's
a
no
team.
moment to where he says like, "I totally believe you." Instead, he's just like, "Okay, let's just keep moving on." Let's just-
Solid detective work so far.
Yeah,
Let's keep going.
I was
He
looking for
couldn't
that moment where it's
admit
like,
that he was
"Holy
wrong.
fucking wait!" There
No
was-
one at any point is like, guys, we all see this doll killing people. Like, at
Right.
no point are they like,
It almost felt like that scene in the car was like added on. I was like, well, there's not enough action. Because when he's back on the investigation and connects with the mom again, it doesn't seem like he's possessed by any kind of new like energy or insight. He's just in.
yeah.
I mean, I could be wrong. It's just,
I could see that for sure.
Like, they just couldn't figure out, well, how are we going to get Humperdinck on board with the mom? I guess the doll could stab him in the butt.
And what did he have wrapped around his neck? Was it the car? Was it the? I was trying to figure that out while they were driving. Do you remember? he wraps something around his neck. He's trying to choke him out.
Oh, yeah, power, like jumper cables?
Was it jumper cables? That's
Something
what
like
I thought.
that,
I was
yeah.
like, that's a really thick cord.
So they go to the voodoo man house, the guy who taught Charles Lee Ray voodoo.
Right,
Yeah.
his accomplice. And I liked how his accomplice really didn't like Charles Lee Ray.
No, and was like very upset that he was in this doll.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, no. No, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You've done the wrong thing."
Right.
And he basically reveals that he's going to become more human, and if he doesn't get out of the doll,
Right.
the doll will become his permanent vessel.
Yeah. If Wormtongue doesn't get out of the doll,
Right.
then he will become more and more human.
Or
But does he become a full human doll? Is that the idea?
that question is answered in later movies, and the answer is yes.
Oh,
Does the doll get older? Does the doll grow? I don't know. These are rules that I wanted answered. I'm kidding. I
Well,
did not.
but the guy Voodoo Man also says that the only way he can get into a human form at this point is that he has to jump into the person that he first revealed himself to,
Right.
which is the kid.
It seems pretty weird.
Yeah, that's the part that doesn't add up, you guys.
No, yeah, that's the part that doesn't add up.
I am on board with it up until that point.
Yeah?
So he has to go, so he goes to find the kid, and he blows up another building? No. Humperdinck and Mom find the body.
I did find it funny, too, the joy that Chucky had when he's like, it's a kid! I just gotta kill the kid!
No, he has to jump into the kid.
No, I know, but he was, like, really excited about that fact. I get to be a kid again, you know?
He probably had a fairly sketchy childhood.
He had to grow up too soon.
Yeah, now he's got
That's
a
the
second
truth.
chance. But Danny, no, it's not Danny.
I feel
Danny's
like
The Shining.
That should have been the sequel. That should have been the sequel to this movie. It's like Freaky Friday. It's like any of those Freaky Friday comedies, but with Chucky inside a real living boy, would have been hilarious.
And just a normal boy
Yes.
inside the doll.
Yes.
Just loving it because he can't, get hurt. But then somehow the kid knows he's in a mental hospital, and somehow he knows that he sees Chucky in the street. Doesn't he? You guys are looking at me like I'm insane.
No, I think that they have a mental connection at this point, so he feels Chucky coming.
So nobody at the mental hospital believes the kid.
And that is the moment when I was like, this kid's doing some serious acting, right? Because there's that moment where he turns around and he's like legit crying. And as a father, I was immediately like, oh, ooh.
Help him.
Yeah. What made me, but it made me also like wonder, did they do something to this kid to freak him the F out? Like, did they tell him that?
He did not know that the whole living doll thing was for the movie. He just thought that was happening. But then we get
method.
that part has the grossest kill, like one of the only truly gross kills in the movie.
Yes.
Where he puts a electricity hat on.
Here's the note that I
Help
wrote
me out,
down
guys.
at that point. I wrote down this.
May have shut my eyes for rest at this moment.
Why does that headband thing even exist?
Because they're electroshocking people.
Yeah, I would assume that any electroshock therapy device you use has some kind of fail-safe in it.
No, this one is fully
Turn
like an
it up to
electric
30.
chair. It's an
Yeah.
electric chair, and he like his face melts off.
His eyes
There's
bleed.
blood everywhere.
Yeah.
It's very gross.
It's gross. That was the grossest moment. It was also another ankle stab moment.
So much ankle stabbing.
Oh, my
Because Danny runs, I think it's the part that you're describing. He runs and he's like, I gotta protect myself, and he finds like a little scalpel, and
got a
he's
little
like
scalpel.
hiding in a corner with a scalpel.
And for me, this is also the first moment that we see a fully autonomous. Is that the right word? A fully animated Chucky, right? 'Cause
Walking and
moving, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
You see him climb up on the bed, and he's gonna stab the kid, but he's like, done the pillow in the bed trick. That Chucky should have known that he was a child at some point, right?
Also, why is he shouldn't be trying to kill not Danny.
Well, he's got
because he needs to hop in there.
right, but he's got to scare him into submission so that he can, perform the ritual that he just happens to know.
But what do you mean he just happens to know? He put the murals up, honey. He did his homework.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but there was a lot of words in that ritual. A lot of them. It's got to take a long time.
Mono Dewey Dembola, give me the power, I beg of you.
Right. You got to, I mean, it seems to me like it would have taken a long time to memorize that. And also...
But he's into it.
Usually with memorization, you need some repetition.
So how do you know that he wasn't, he was planning for this?
Often doing this, jumping into things.
In the shower, he goes through his voodoo hop into a body ritual so that he's ready when the time comes. Because he's saying, as he's falling around and dying, he says aloud in an example of bad improv, he's narrating his movements. He's stumbling around the store that he's in, and he's like, oh, God, I'm dying. I gotta find a body, gotta find a body, gotta find a body, gotta find somebody. He's he had this plan.
I'm just prepping for it the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm in. You changed my mind.
Anywho, everybody ends up back at the house.
Right.
And everybody's fighting this really mad doll.
Super mad.
So angry. So many ankles and thighs get stabberooed.
Although, I feel like...
And the most disturbing moment to me was he hits the kid on the head with a bat and knocks him unconscious.
Yeah.
And that I was like, ooh, you just gave that kid a concussion. You're going to hop in that body and... if you take a nap, you're done. So the scary, and then the other scary part, which I thought was really good, because he looks very scary at this point, Chucky. And they throw him in the fire, and you think he's done. He's all melty. This is his Terminator moment.
Dun, 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 dun.
But then he escapes again.
Right.
And he goes on for another 15 minutes attacking them with half his face melted.
Yep.
And you see the metal.
Dripping and gooey and
the plastic.
And he's got you see the animatronics of his hands and stuff, and they're creepy and metal. One eye glowing red. That's not true.
The mom shoots him apart in several pieces.
She's such a bad shot. It's she's got a dirty, hairy hand cannon. And she can't hit a doll heart?
But my favorite moment is that, she blows it. She shoots his arm off. Then she shoots off his other arm.
And she got it square, in the chest.
Yeah. And
Must have just missed the heart.
Hits him hard enough to, pop his head off. But my favorite moment is when the partner shows up. Hey!
Hey, yo!
Yo!
Hey!
And he grabs the head and he brings it in the room. They're like, don't touch anything.
Whatever you do not touch it.
But Chris Sarandon and Humperdinck is like, okay, let me catch you up. Sorry, a lot's happened. It was the doll. Don't worry, we killed it. Everything's fine. I'm a little bit stabbed, but only from the waist down.
Losing a lot of blood right now, but you've got to believe me.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's in there. Go see for yourself, but don't touch it.
No matter what, do not touch.
And the first thing he does is...
for yourself. See what?
Poke it.
All it is a burnt doll.
Yeah. But the first thing he does is poke it. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, I won't touch it. Touch.
My favorite moment, though, is that he brings the head in, and then the body attacks him through a very low-placed vent in the apartment.
A vent that's at shoulder height.
Shoulder height. But then the head seems to be cheering the body on. Kill it. Stab it. Choke it.
Strangle him.
String it. Bop it. Twist it.
Show more hustle.
Yeah, I was confused about that too. I was like, is he giving instructions to his body?
He was cheering it on. He was totally cheering. Because the head can't do anything at this point except support. You know?
And then, so he does come back for a couple more scares. And then they finally shoot him in the heart. And then blood spatters. And that's how you know it's done, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the movie ends in a
it ends abruptly. No, it ends super abruptly because Christopher Sarandon's like, now do you believe me? And the terrible cop partner is like, yeah, but who's going to believe me? Oh, you guys. And then they're like...
Freeze frame.
And then it's over.
Freeze frame. It ends in a freeze frame with the kid looking back over his shoulder. Freeze frame. Come on.
And she's like, come on, we got to go with Mike now. Like, what, we're all on a first name basis?
Let's
just
get you
met
another
that guy.
good buddy doll.
Also, like, someone's going down for all those crimes, right? And it's definitely going to be the kid. All I know is that in the third one, it's the same child actor, but he's a teenager, and he goes to military school because he has a troubled youth.
Yeah,
and
of course
Chucky,
he does.
Chucky keeps finding him and killing his foster families because I'm pretty sure they take him away from
How
the mom.
does Chucky come back in the second movie?
Okay, so I don't know if it's the second one or the third one, but in one of the two of them, they melt him down. They take the plastic of the Chucky doll and they melt it down and they use it to like reboot other good guy dolls. And so like his soul resides in the plastic and he gets like a fresh good guy doll body.
Nice. And then there's a Bride of Chucky,
And he's
right?
but he still
Yeah.
has to find specifically this kid because he can't jump into anyone else.
Right.
Which I think is a pretty clever plot device because otherwise he would just hop into the anyone. He can only hop into this kid. All right. So what other thoughts do we have, gentlemen?
There's a ton to enjoy. This movie is especially fun if you've got a bunch of friends and some drinks. You know,
I have neither of those things. So just me alone.
well, if you could theoretically picture.
It's just me and a bunch of dolls. I just lined up all my dolls.
Wait, when did this
Okay.
movie come
Well,
out?
everyone's got to have a thing.
1988.
So Child's Play 2 came out in 1990. So they were like locked and loaded to do another one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sorry,
Well, and
Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah,
They're-
so there's Child's Play 1, 2, 3, then Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky.
And they are rebooting Child's Play
Nice.
this year. It's coming out this summer, I think, because the everything after Bride of Chucky, everything after Child's Play 3 is just insane. Like they just went for comedy.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
see, that's where I think that this movie lives for me. You know, like that. Like to me, it's not scary enough to be actually scary because it's so silly because it's a doll. You know, so the fun of this movie is in accepting that it's a doll, and then just going crazy with that idea. I do remember. I don't remember anything about it, but I do remember watching Bride of Chucky. Just don't. I remember that I did watch it. I just don't remember any of it.
what are your thoughts on the later ones? The ones so Chucky is originally created by Don Mancini. There was some with the director Tom Holland, not Spider-Man.
Not Spider-Man.
There was a lot of
Because Spider-Man wasn't born yet when this movie came
right
out.
debate in terms of who is the creator of Chucky between the two of them. Most horror fans believe that it's Don Mancini.
He did
the original
Talking
scriptwriter.
Tina episode of Twilight Zone.
Oh, did he?
Also, he's married to the actress who plays the mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they met on set.
Oh, how charming.
Don Mancini.
So Chucky-
I don't know this off the top of my head. I looked it
Chucky is responsible for their love.
up. Yeah, he wrote and directed the episode of the Twilight Zone Talkie Tina. So I think that's where you're. So wait, where's the confusion as to who came up with the concept?
The director Tom Holland asserted that he was one of the writers and hence one of the creators of Chucky.
Okay.
And so there was just legal debate, battle over that.
Well, it sounds like it went through a lot of development, too, though, before they figured out what it was going to be.
Yeah.
I want to know who decided to make the doll a ginger.
It looked like it was almost wearing like Rainbow Bright's outfit,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yes.
Well, and also, like, so all the good guy dolls are supposed to have their own name. So, like, they're not all named Chucky. Mm-hmm. They all have a different name. So they should all look slightly different,
Yeah.
right? Or is it just a race of... they all look the same?
Wouldn't it be like you
Like
named it
Smurfs?
whatever you want? Like it wouldn't be like the voice wouldn't say, "Hi, I'm Chucky."
They
'Cause-
do, though. They show it in the very first commercial that he watches while he's pouring his cereal. That it's like, "Hi, I'm Buddy. I'm your good guy doll." And the next one's like, "Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm your good guy doll."
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of technology not available in the 80s.
Yeah, every Teddy Ruxpin was just Teddy Ruxpin.
Right.
And you had the same 8 tapes that you could put into that Teddy Ruxpin.
But yeah, like I think the later ones are silly, but I think that this one, it definitely to like young me, I thought it was scary.
Oh, yeah.
And especially that moment when he runs on the couch. And I remember, I think I conflate the second and third one quite a bit, like in my memory. But there's a moment in the third one, and it's like when Craig was talking about how Short Circuit 2 is just like so dark and weird and it just like stuck in his brain. It's something like that, because there's a moment where they're in a military academy and like Chucky throws a live grenade and like the sort of nerd of the group throws his body onto the grenade to save the rest of them. And like, that's just in me. And it's like, it's like, oh my God, that's too much. It's just in there now. Anywho, on a scale of 1
Ankle injuries?
ankle injury to 10 ankle injuries, how many ankle injuries do you give Child's Play, the movie from 1988?
I'm probably going to have to go with like a 5.
Okay, I think it's fair. I think
Um,
that's actually generous for you.
yeah.
I don't think you want to give it a 5.
No, but I'm giving it a 5 because there's definitely enough moments to where the horror and suspense is working. The performances are good. And then plenty to kind of check out on. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay, fair.
I would give it a 6. Because I found, it felt to me like they did find, like in the second act, they found their stride, which was, let's lean into this ridiculousness. And I want to go watch Chucky 2 now. I want to watch Child's Play 2 and see and remember how it all kind of like, oh yeah, that's how he gets back into that body, and oh yeah, that's that thing. So yeah, I'd give it a 6. I'd give it a 6 ankle injuries.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm going to give it a 6.5. It's no mannequin,
Right. Obviously.
so I can't give it a 7.
No.
That's like the
but I
romantic
think-
comedy version of Chucky.
I mean, it sort of is. It's a living doll that somebody's soul
That would be a
hopped
great
into
double
it.
feature.
It's basically the same movie.
It is. It's the same movie.
And I love Mannequin.
I love Mannequin 2. Have you ever seen Mannequin,
Mannequin
2?
2? Mannequin on the Move?
Yes.
Yes, I have. Christy Swanson is the mannequin in that movie.
It's so problematic. Mannequin is so problematic. I'm sorry. We're talking about Chucky.
We are. You should have been on the Mannequin episode if you had things to say.
Look, I lived a very weird, strange life where my parents would only let me watch PG movies or movies they didn't fully understand. So I didn't get to see Chucky as a kid, but for some reason Mannequin made that cut.
Anyway, I think it's a fun movie. I think
Yeah.
it's fun to watch. I think that it's a fun movie to show people who haven't seen it. Like Nathan was describing, if I had human friends instead of dolls, I would
Right.
invite everyone over to watch
Yes.
Child's Play.
Absolutely.
Theoretically.
Right. And I do think I would advise rent all 3 of the first 3
Watch them all together.
and watch them all together. I don't like the ones where it's weird and Jennifer Tilly's there and like they have human anatomy and even though they're trapped in dolls. Like I don't like that, but I like the first 3. And I'm excited for the reboot.
Do you have any details on the reboot?
Yeah, it's supposed to be darker. They like want to go back to the original thing where it's supposed to be scary.
Okay. Do you know who they're casting?
No. And so because of that, obviously we can't talk about recasting this. But do you have a deep cut recommendation?
So mine would be so it's a little complicated. So I realized the podcast that I'm recommending, the episode is now behind a paywall.
Oh no, are you? I think you're going to recommend the same thing I'm going to recommend.
Are you recommending the movie Crypt?
Nope, never mind.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to recommend the episode of the movie Crypt. Let me see, where Don Mancini, the creator, is on it. The movie Crypt is a nice filmmaking podcast. Obviously, it's kind of a bit of a horror bent, but they do talk about other kind of films and things like that. But I think it's like, hang on, is it 217? Yeah, 217 in the movie Crypt with Don Mancini. and I do think it's in their vault collection now, which is behind a paywall. So.
And does he discuss like the rest of his work, or is it just about?
Yeah,
Child's
no,
Play?
he discusses his career too, because he eventually ended up working on Hannibal as well.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, he kind of
that show is gross. Did you watch Hannibal?
No.
I
I
assume you
haven't.
mean the series, and
yes,
not
the Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah.
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 It is very gross. There's an episode where Hannibal Lecter is operating on somebody who is fully awake, removing their body parts, cooking them, and eating them, while the person's just like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's
Don't
like,
they eat them together? Like that? Doesn't that happen? Like he serves him some of his own brain.
"That's in the movie."
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry.
The like Hugh Dancy, Mads Mikkelsen one is fully
Even
gross.
worse.
Yeah, so I could see him getting involved in that. Good recommendation. Thank you, Nathan. Any other behind the scenes filmmaker thoughts? I don't know why it would be behind the scenes, but any other filmmaker thoughts?
Hey, let me ask you a question, because I had mentioned how how they were cutting between like the animatronic doll and then a person. Did it seem like to me like towards the end of the movie when they were like when it was like real roughhousey and like they were throwing the doll against the wall and whatever. It felt like something changed, like they were using a bigger person.
Oh
Did you
yeah,
notice that?
so what they did they had a little person inside a Chucky doll,
Right.
and that person is approximately 30% larger than the doll,
Right.
And so on some of the shots that we see Chucky running, it's actually the furniture and props are actually 30% larger to make it look like it's still Chucky.
They hobbited it.
Yeah, and so it's used forced perspective. Some of the sets are actually 30% bigger, but when they're actually interacting, the forced
It's harder to
perspective
keep
breaks
that.
down.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, sometimes when they're actually like fighting, it's a bigger person than the doll.
I read too that it is actually a child in some of the shots. Where
That
it's,
makes sense.
Where it's not somebody acting, where it's just somebody scampering. It's
Yeah, it makes sense 'cause of the
little
proportions.
sister of the young boy actor.
I love the idea that they put a real child in the one that they set on fire. Probably not. That would be amazing.
I love the idea, and I've always been very curious. I would love to see a podcast where you talk to like stage moms whose children are in horror movies about how they prepare their kids for these roles. Like I wonder if Haley Joel Osment has ever like talked about it, because it's like if you're like, oh, my child is an actor,
intense, right?
They're going to be in this super creepy, because there's so many kids in horror movies, like the
Right.
kids from The Conjuring, the kids from every scary movie, the kid from
Pet Sematary.
Pet
the
Sematary.
Gage kid who's literally only ever in horror movies.
And the show Full House.
That's right.
He's in that quite a bit. I would just like to know like how parents prepare their kids for that.
Yeah.
Dorian, do you have a deep cut recommendation?
Yes, I have two. You ready? Small Soldiers.
Oh yeah.
Because it kind of hits on some of that like
Yeah, those soldiers are very
capitalism,
warlike.
and
Yeah.
it's weird, but it gets dark. It gets a little bit dark, and then Jingle All the Way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are my two deep cuts. And Garbage Pail Kids, the movie, it'd be the last.
No, it's terrible. No, never watch that under any circumstances. I want to recommend also a podcast, which is why I thought maybe we were going to recommend the same thing. I want to recommend Lore Podcast, which is a I'm Aaron Mankey, and this is Lore. It's great. It's like really well researched stories, lore, if you will, of like olden things that are creepy and supernatural in nature. And there's an episode about Robert the Doll, which is like a real life Chucky. This is like a turn of the century creep ass doll.
Wait, a real Chucky?
Yes, but I'll show you what Robert the Doll looks like, but the episode is so scary. The episode of Lore that features Robert the Doll is very, very scary, and everybody knows Annabelle is a creepy doll.
Right.
But Robert the Doll, I argue, is creepier Here he is. I will show him to you, and I will put that on the thing.
Oh,
and
Lord.
It's a really good podcast, and that episode is very scary.
Wow.
Like, I can't listen to it too close to the nighttime or when I'm going to be, like, alone for a while.
Do you listen to it often?
The podcast?
No, this episode.
Yeah, it scares me, so I go back to it sometimes. But, like, Robert the Doll was this... Well, listen to the story, but, like, people... just listen to it. The story of what this doll gets up to is crazy.
There's, like, several haunted doll stories that are supposed to be real.
And Robert the Doll is the scariest of them all.
Yeah.
Really?
That are terrifying. That is a terrifying doll. That's
Do you
disgusting.
remember that episode, Dorian? You
No.
listened to that? Oh, the name of the episode of lore that features Robert the Doll is called Unboxed.
Is this the one where it's the two roommates, the two women roommates?
No, that's Annabelle.
That's Annabelle?
This is a young boy.
Nope, I'm out. No, thank you.
Yeah, and Robert the Doll is creepy. Okay. All right, so Dorian, where can people see you, find you, follow you?
Well, I can be seen
To
every
tell you that you're
Friday
wrong about Child's Play.
and Saturday night at 7:30 and 9:45 at the National Comedy Theater. That's N for National, C for Comedy, and T for Theater, all spelled out.
Nope.
Phoenix.com. And I'm on Twitter at DTenacious1. That's me. Yeah.
Okay, good talk.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be part of your podcast.
And Nathan, every place that people can find all your shenanigans.
SquishyStudios.com. Squishy Studios on the Twitters and the Instagrams. And then Void Checkers as well, if you want to check out my sci-fi web series.
And you should watch the most recent episode, which is a 22-minute, is that right? TV episode?
Yeah, 24 minutes.
24.
Yeah, it's a half-hour episode.
Yes, it's great. You should watch it. It's wonderful. Also, like, rate, review, do all of those things for us, please. Not only would it be good for your soul, but it's good for our numbers.
As they say, smash that subscribe button.
Do they say that?
They do. Some people say it.
Okay. Well, I would like it if you just delicately tapped it with a click of your cursor. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. We don't know what the next episode of this podcast is going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be great. And remember your most excellent 80s movie motto: be excellent to each other. And hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Ow, my ankle.